Hey everybody, my name is Austin Lewis and I'm with Oasis Center's Rapid Rehousing Program. I work closely with young adults, property partners, and community organizations to help break down barriers to housing and to make sure that people aren't just getting housed, but actually thriving where they live. This is the first session in our 12-month housing counseling series, and we're kicking things off with the basics: how to start your housing search. Each month, we're going to cover a different part of the housing journey: budgeting, applications, moving in, maintaining housing, all of it, so that you can feel more prepared, more confident, and more in control of your next steps. Whether you're looking for housing now or just planning for the future, this space is for you. So let's go ahead and get started with month one. Where do I start? This slide gives us a simple roadmap for what the housing search really looks like. I'm going to break it down into three key stages: plan, search, and secure. Now let's talk through each one. Plan. Set your budget and priorities. Okay, so first up is planning, but before you even start looking at listings, you need a solid foundation. That means figuring out your budget, how much rent you can realistically afford, and identifying your priorities. What's most important to you? Maybe it's being close to work, school, having public transportation nearby, or finding a pet-friendly place. Getting clear on this up front saves you a ton of time and frustration later. Search. Find the right resources. Once you've got a plan, now it's time to search. And no, you don't have to rely only on Craigslist or Zillow. There are all kinds of resources: housing locators, nonprofit listings, community boards, and more that can help you narrow your options based on your needs. We'll go deeper into these resources later in the series, but for now, just know that the search doesn't have to be overwhelming if you use the right tools. Secure. Apply with confidence. And finally, secure your housing. This is the part where a lot of people freeze up, but we're not going to let that happen. When you're ready to apply, confidence is key. You'll want to have your documents ready, understand what the landlords are looking for, and know how to advocate for yourself. We'll walk through all of that in the upcoming presentations. But for today, just remember, the more prepared you are in the planning and search phase, the smoother this part becomes. So if you're sitting here thinking, where do I even begin? This is your answer. Plan, search, secure. We're going to build on this framework in the coming months so that you'll always know what step to take next. You don't have to do this alone. We're here to walk with you every step of the way. Why the housing search matters. All right, so now that we know what the housing search looks like: plan, search, secure, let's talk about why it actually matters. Like, why are we even having this conversation? This slide is here to remind us that housing is way more than just a place to sleep. Foundation for life. Housing is the foundation for stability, work, school, and health. Housing is foundational. Without stable housing, everything else gets harder: holding down a job, staying in school, taking care of your health. But when you have a safe and stable place to live, it creates a ripple effect. You can show up to life more consistently because you're not constantly worried about where you're going to sleep next month. That kind of peace of mind is powerful. Preparation pays off. Preparation makes the process faster and smoother. Okay, so the next point is a big one. Preparation pays off. I know it can feel easier to just jump into looking at apartments, but slowing down for a minute to get organized, that's getting your documents together, figuring out your budget, knowing your deal breakers, it can actually make the whole process go way faster and feel way less stressful. Think of it like prepping your ingredients before you start cooking. You're just setting yourself up for success. Did you know? Now, let's take a look at these facts because they really drive this home. 30% of income. Most people spend around 30% of their income on housing. That's a big chunk. which is why making the right choice really matters. Kids thrive in stable housing. If you've got children in your life, your own or even nieces, nephews, or siblings, stable housing helps them do better in school. It gives them the consistency they need to focus and grow. Documents ready equals faster approval. Having your stuff together, such as your ID, proof of income, references, can literally make the difference between getting approved quickly or missing out on a place because someone else was more prepared. Stable housing supports career growth. People with stable housing are more likely to keep jobs, get promotions, and grow in their careers. You're not just finding a place to live, you are laying the groundwork for your future. So, yeah, the housing search isn't just a box to check. It's the first step toward building a solid, stable life. That's why we're putting in the work now. You're not just finding a home, you're creating a launch pad for everything that comes next. Setting a realistic budget. Okay, let's talk money. Now, I know it's not the most fun topic for everybody, but it's so important when it comes to your housing search. This slide is all about setting a realistic budget that works for you. Not just what looks good on paper, but what feels sustainable in real life. The 30% rule. Rent should be around 30% of monthly income. One of the most common guidelines out there is the 30% rule, which says that your rent should be about 30% of your monthly income. So if you're bringing in a $3,000 a month salary, that means that aiming for rent around $900. Now, this rule isn't perfect for everyone, but it's a good starting point to make sure that your housing costs don't take over your entire budget. The goal is to leave enough room for other essentials like food, savings, transportation, and, just living your life. Hidden costs. Don't forget utilities, deposits, and transportation costs. But here's where people get tripped up. It's those hidden costs. Rent is just the beginning. So you also need to factor in utilities like electric and water, deposits, which can sometimes be a full month of rent or more, and transportation. If you're moving farther out to find cheaper rent, are you now spending more on gas or ride shares? These costs add up quick, so we want to be thinking about the full picture, not just that base number. Conservative approach. Budget using your lowest consistent monthly earnings. Another big tip here, be conservative with your budgeting. Don't base your rent off the best month that you've ever had. Instead, look at your lowest consistent monthly income, the amount you know that you can count on month after month. That way, if life throws you a curveball, your housing situation doesn't become a crisis. Quick budget calculator. And hey, check it out. We've even got a quick calculator example right here. If you're making $3,000 a month, a realistic rent budget would be around $900. So here's the key takeaway. Know your numbers. Planning your budget up front gives you power. It helps you narrow your options, avoid financial stress later, and feel confident about what you can really afford. We're building a solid foundation here, and budgeting is a key part of that. Needs versus wants. Okay, now that we've talked about budgeting, let's get into one of the most important decisions you'll make in your housing search, figuring out your needs versus wants. This slide helps you get really clear on what's essential for your living situation and what's just nice to have if it fits the budget. Our needs, those are your non-negotiables. Let's start here. If a place doesn't meet these, it's not the right fit. Simple as that. Affordability. If it doesn't work with your budget, it's not sustainable. No apartment is worth sacrificing your financial stability. Safety. Now, this one's huge. You deserve to feel safe where you live, both in your building and your neighborhood. If something feels off, trust your gut. Transportation. Whether you drive, bike, take the bus, or walk, you need to be able to get to work, school, or appointments without it being a major burden. If a place is cheaper but way out of the way, the savings might not be worth it. Number of bedrooms. Make sure there's enough space for everyone in your household. That includes you, your kids, or anyone you're living with. No one wants to be crammed into a space that's too small. Now let's talk wants, those nice to haves. These aren't deal breakers, but they can make your living situation more enjoyable if you find a place that offers them within budget. Gym. On site fitness centers are a great perk, but remember you can always work out at home or outside if needed. Pool. It sounds luxurious, and hey, if it fits, go for it. But don't stretch your budget just for some summer dips. Granite countertops and walk in closets. These features can be nice and make a space feel upgraded, but they don't change your day to day stability. Prioritize function over aesthetics if you have to choose. So here's a pro tip: focus on your needs first, and then see what wants you can realistically include after that. The goal isn't to settle, it's to stay grounded in what's going to make your life work well first, and then look for the little joys where they fit. So many people start their search with a fantasy apartment in their head. And hey, dreaming is fine, but the smartest move is to get clear on what you need to be stable and successful. Once you know that, you can build around it. That's how you make sure your next move is the right move. Where to search? Now that you've got your budget and your priorities lined up, the next question is, where do I even start looking? And good news, there are tons of ways to search for housing. This slide breaks them down so you don't feel like you're stuck scrolling the same two websites over and over. Let's start with the obvious one: online platforms. These are the heavy hitters when it comes to apartment listings. Zillow, probably the most well known. It covers everything: houses, apartments, condos, you name it. Apartments.com. This one's dialed in on apartment complexes specifically, so you'll find more managed properties here. Rent.com. Another solid platform, especially for people looking at short or long-term rentals. Hotpads. This one's great if you're a visual person. It uses a map-based search so you can literally zoom into a neighborhood and see what's available nearby. This one is one of my personal favorites. Pro tip: these sites often overlap in listings, but not always, so it's worth checking more than one at a time. Now let's talk about local resources, because honestly, these can be game changers, especially if you're looking for affordable or low barrier housing options. Housing locators. These are people whose whole job is to help you find a place. If your city has one, use them. Nonprofits and community housing programs. Organizations like ours often have direct relationships with property managers or inside info on upcoming openings that aren't even listed yet. These are gold if you're facing barriers like income limits, credit history, or housing vouchers. Never underestimate the power of just asking around. Family and friends. They might know someone who's moving out or a landlord looking to rent quickly and quietly. Case managers. If you're working with one, lean on them. They often have a professional network of landlords and other clients who are moving, which can open up options you wouldn't find on your own. And then we've got community networks, which are super helpful for more informal, hyper-local leads. Community boards. Yes, the old school cork board at your local coffee shop. Grocery store or library still works. Social media groups. Places like Facebook Marketplace, local Facebook groups, and even apps like Nextdoor can be amazing for finding hidden gems. Just be careful and do your research when reaching out to folks online. So here's the strategy that I recommend. Use multiple sources at the same time. Don't just pick one platform and hope for the best. Set up email alerts on at least 2 or 3 platforms so you're getting notified immediately when new places are listed. And check them daily. The best properties, especially the affordable ones, go fast. So if you want to be ready and move when something good pops up, you've got to be on it. There's no magic website that has absolutely everything, so make sure to mix it up and use your network. Housing doesn't always show up where you expect it. Sometimes your best lead comes from a neighbor, a flyer, or a late night Facebook scroll. Keep your eyes open and your options wide. Scams and red flags. All right, we've covered where to search, but now let's talk about what to watch out for. Because unfortunately, not everyone out there is playing fair. There are some shady folks and flat out scams that target people looking for housing, especially if they think you're in a hurry or don't have a lot of options. This site is all about protecting yourself, your money, and your peace of mind. Never pay up front. Never pay money before seeing the unit in person. This is rule number one. Never pay anything before you've seen the unit in person. I don't care how nice the photos look or how great the listing sounds. If someone's asking for money before you've toured the space, that's a giant red flag. Watch out for sketchy requests like wire transfers, gift cards, or cash deposits before you've even stepped foot in the unit. No legit landlord does business like that. Too good to be true. Beware of deals that don't add up. You've probably heard the saying, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. That applies here too. If you see a listing that looks like a luxury apartment, granite counters, rooftop pool, walk-in closets for $500 a month in a neighborhood where everything else is $1,200 a month, something's off. Scammers know how to write convincing ads, so use your common sense and compare prices in the area. Verify everything: landlord, property, and company info. Don't just trust a name on a lease. Take the time to verify who you're dealing with. And here's how. Check their business license. Look up online reviews, and if they say they're with a property management company, visit their office or call the main number, not just a random cell they give you. You're allowed to ask questions and do your homework. In fact, legit landlords expect you to. Protection checklist. Here's a quick protection checklist to help you stay safe during your search. Meet the landlord or agent in person at the property. Ask for their ID, just like you'd show yours. Tour the actual unit you'll be renting, not just a model. Google the address and do a quick property search. Get everything in writing. Verbal agreements do not count. And most importantly, trust your gut. If something feels sketchy, it probably is. This isn't about being paranoid, it's about being prepared. And just to reinforce this point, real landlords understand that you're cautious. If someone is rushing you, pressuring you, or getting irritated with your questions, that's another red flag. You deserve to feel secure about where you're living and how you get there. So bottom line, protect yourself, ask questions, and don't let urgency override your instincts. Scams can be convincing, but if you follow these steps, you'll stay in control and keep your search safe. Activity, my housing priorities. All right, we've covered a lot so far. Budgeting, red flags, where to search. but now it's time to pause and bring it all together. This activity is all about you, your life, your needs, your goals. Because at the end of the day, no one knows what matters most to you better than you do. Your assignment. It's simple but powerful. Fill out your needs versus wants worksheet. You've already seen the difference between what you need to live stably and what you'd like to have if it fits. Now it's your turn to get personal with it. Use the worksheet to list your real life priorities. Circle your top 3 non-negotiables. What are the 3 things you absolutely won't compromise on? These are your deal breakers. They should guide every search, every tour, every application. And don't overthink it. It's okay to choose what makes you feel safe and supported. Set your realistic budget range. Based on what we talked about earlier, your income, your expenses, and your lowest consistent earnings, what's your budget range? Write it down. Stick to it. It's your anchor in this process. Download the worksheet plus the quick priority selector. If you haven't already, go ahead and download the worksheet attached to this email that came with this presentation. The options for the priorities include affordability, safety and security, transportation access, space requirements, neighborhood quality, pet friendly, and any other priority that's not listed. Take a second to really think about which of these matter most to you. This is about getting honest with yourself so you can find a place that actually works, not just on paper, but in your day-to-day life. Doing this activity might seem small, but it can save you hours of stress down the road. When you're clear on your priorities, you can move faster, make smarter decisions, and feel good about where you land. So take your time, be honest, and don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. This is your journey, but you're not doing this alone. Wrap up and resources. All right, you made it. This wraps up our first housing counseling workshop, and I hope by now you're feeling more informed, more empowered, and way less overwhelmed than when we started. Key takeaway number 1. Housing search is about preparation, not just luck. Let's be real. It's easy to think that finding housing is all about luck, being in the right place at the right time, knowing the right person, or just stumbling into a good deal. But that's not the full story. The people who land stable, affordable housing usually have one thing in common. They are prepared. So remember, this process isn't random. It's something you can prepare for, and that preparation gives you power. Key takeaway number 2. Know your budget, identify your needs, use multiple resources. If you take away just one action plan from today, let it be this. Number 1, know your budget. Number 2, identify your non-negotiable needs. Number 3, use multiple resources when you search. This is how you stay in control. This is how you avoid scams. And this is how you land somewhere that works for your life. Coming up next, navigating rental applications. And everybody, don't forget, this is just month 1 of our 12-part housing counseling series. Next month, we'll walk you through rental applications. We'll talk about what documents you need, how to advocate for yourself, and how to handle situations like having low income, no credit, or prior evictions. It's going to be super helpful, especially if that's the stage you're heading into soon. Additional resources. Okay, before we go, I want to leave you with some helpful resources that you can tap into right now. HUD Housing Resources. These are national programs that support renters with low income or housing challenges. Local Housing Authority. If you haven't connected with them already, do it. They often have wait lists, vouchers, and local programs that you won't find online. Rental assistance programs. If you're falling behind on rent or trying to save up for a deposit, these can make all of the difference. Housing counseling services. And of course, housing counselors like us are here to help you guide through the process for free. Don't be afraid to reach out if you need support. Thank you so much for showing up for yourself today. You're now equipped with the tools to start your housing search with confidence. Whether you're starting today or still figuring out your timeline, just know you're not alone in this. And every step that you take, budgeting, prioritizing, searching, is a step towards stability, peace, and possibility. I'll see you next month for navigating rental applications. Until then, stay curious, stay focused, and stay hopeful.